Hi, and welcome to this special live The Awkward Mind podcast. I am Yuri Nair. My guest today is Greg Agrest. A fellow immigrant from the former Soviet Union, Greg served his adopted country with pride in the U.S. Armed Forces. Now he is a father, husband, teacher, and life coach. We have grown up together in Brooklyn but lost touch after leaving middle school. To talk about life, NYC, education, financial freedom, family values, and much more, please welcome Mr. Greg Agrest. Greg, welcome to
Hey,
the
how's
Awkward
it
Mind
going?
podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being on and talking with you, man. It's a catch up and diving into your awkward mind to see. So a lot to learn from you, man. Beautiful
That's
job you're
happening.
doing.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I know the connection in Brooklyn is a little spotty, but we'll make the best of it. You look good right now, so we'll go for it.
Awesome.
So good to have you. So I guess maybe we'll start in the beginning because the thing I remember, because I have a shoddy memory, so you might be able to help me. But moving here, meeting you in middle school, and then you got me to start karate, which for me lasted for about 3 weeks. I think you lasted longer.
Well, I actually wind up going through about half of high school through it. I wound up getting the black belt, and then after that, the whole place wind up shutting down. And when we moved to a different place where I'm currently now, good times. Yeah. All the things that we did with the science fair and everything. So crazy.
Oh yeah. I remember I was out the day that the assignments were made, and we were told do anything except for a volcano, and I
Yeah.
missed the memo. So I show up on the day the assignment was due with a volcano, and he was like, "What the heck is this?" I was like, "What?" Hey.
Speaking of middle school, when I started, actually started Valero. My years teaching Cavalier Junior High. Really nice to see Mr. I got to see a couple of Wakey was there. So familiar.
Just kind of freezing a little bit on us there, but I guess you said you went back and had a bit of a reunion. It sounds like.
So basically, I started at Cavalier. Can you?
Just kind of cutting in and out there a little bit.
How about?
So let's see if we get you back. Channel the internet gods to get us a better connection.
Yeah, please work. Yeah, and
yeah. Oh, and we've lost Greg. Let's see. There he goes. Reconnected. All right, and you're back.
Okay. Yes. Wonderful. Okay. Back from the dead.
Yes.
Yeah. So as I was saying earlier, like I actually when I started my teaching career, I went back to Cavallero. Yeah. 1 second. You get to meet my wife.
Awesome. Hi.
Closet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I chose the perfect spot for people to sit with.
That's awesome. It's homey. We like to have a homey atmosphere. So
stay there. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely at home. Yeah. So this is where my office is for the remote teaching anyway. Yeah. So before rudely interrupted by my wife, I was saying that I actually went back to Cavallero to start my teaching, and I was going back, and I'm like, wow, some of the teachers that we had, Acoma, Altamore, Wiki, they were actually there. Well, some of them are still actually there. Acoma retired was the year I came back, so it was really nice.
That's awesome. And how did you get into education?
So,
Maybe take us through a little bit of that journey, like after high school.
Ironically enough, it had a lot to do with the sixth grade. And for me, sixth grade was the first full year that I was wind up being in American school. Obviously, my English was pretty crappy. I was in ESL, et cetera, et cetera. And in sixth grade, I realized that I loved helping others who were going through the same thing as I was. I kind of lost touch of that with the whole Y2K thing, because computers was a huge thing. So I went into high school and I wind up going into computers, but eventually I realized that was not what I wanted to do. And kind of thinking back, I was like, what was it really that I really loved doing? And I was already going to be a camp counselor, so I was working with kids. I'm like, you know what? Might as well go back and do the whole teaching thing. And I wanted to be a phys ed teacher. Yeah, so my journey took me from working as 7 years as as a special education and general education teacher to finally getting my dream job as phys ed. So it's been a long process in the making, but the point is, never give up on your dreams, and it will work out when the time is right.
Exactly. And where does service fit into all that?
So actually, great question. I wanted to serve when 9/11 happened. As you already know, we were pretty much, 16, 17 years old. I was in 11th grade. I'm pretty sure you were in 11th grade, so it kind of was a pretty big impact. I had a couple of friends who lost parents in the 9/11 attacks. I had helpers that made it out alive, and that was a pretty tremendous impact. I was not ready to come. And, nope, you're not going. So I went to college, and in the college I was not feeling right. So after 3 years, I said, you know what, I need to make. So I joined, and one of the reasons was I wanted to become in order to be able to teach people how to. What kind of a person I'm going to be if I don't know how to live myself? So I didn't have going away to college, staying there. So that was like kind of my growing up and going away to college experience. And that gave me a little financial stability when I came back. Definitely gave me a different perspective on life itself. I wound up being a lot more grateful for things that I never just took for granted. It's one experience that I highly recommend for those who can do it.
Yeah, I just lost a little bit of that. But
Okay.
Yeah. But it's certainly commendable. But so was 9/11 the catalyst?
I think 9/11 was the seed that was planted, and the catalyst was that I had no idea what I wanted to do in life. I was kind of torn in between. I was 21 going. I was 20 going on 21. Doing a bunch of random things. I was working. I didn't take education seriously. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I online, I realized what I wanted to do. I realized what I needed to do. So it was the culmination. It's like sometimes you get lost, and probably a lot of people feel that way. Some don't. But for me, I wasn't able to find myself up until after the military. So that was like my quest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess just trying to hoping and praying for a slightly better connection.
This is not
get through it.
Living room, and that would work. Let me grab the laptop.
Fight through it. All right, let's see if we can get Greg back with a slightly better connection, so we can.
Yeah.
Because I'm excited to reconnect with him, but if I can't hear him, then what's the point? I might as well. Otherwise, I'm coming to Seagate, man, and we're just gonna do it live.
Let's do it. We can do like a kwartiernik.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see if this is going to be better.
Well, let's see. Well, when you're in motion, I know that the audience can't see it right now, but in motion was pretty good. Maybe you should just walk around.
Let me grab a table, because I'm in the living room and it's like the closest to Wi-Fi.
All right. So let's see. The beauty of modern technology and staying connected with friends is you gotta work through the challenges sometimes. But let's see if we can get Greg back here. And of course, if you're watching live, you can always leave a comment, and we'll bring it up on screen and try to connect with you guys.
All right. Is it better?
Let's see. Let's bring you back on. All right. Seems okay. All right.
Okay. Let me plug it into the computer now and doesn't die on us. All right. Let's try this again.
All right.
All right. So better.
Let's see. Yes, and no. We'll see. We'll keep going and see if we can.
So I'm gonna speak like I do to my third graders.
Yes, exactly. Yes, just every other word, and then hopefully those are the ones that get through.
Okay. Speak important words every other word. Got it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So what was the biggest lesson that you got out of serving?
Gratitude. Definitely gratitude. Perseverance. I think we have lessons in life that we need to go through. And if we don't go through them, then we cannot move on. So it's going to be a repetition of going back and back until we finally get what we learned. So ironically enough, that was the most time I faced racial prejudice and racism. Being an immigrant, people automatically assume the worst out of you. I'm like, dude, there is no race here. It's all great. So once basic training went through, these people changed a lot. And I mean, for me, it changed as well. I had a lot to deal with bullying. I had to deal me or you.
So hang on, Greg. Let's see if we get you back. So was the bullying something you experienced in basic training?
Yeah. The bullying was, it's a bunch of males that lived together, and we had about 60 people in the bunk, and it was not, you would imagine it was not going to be just a nice, easygoing group of people. You had everybody from different walks of life. You have criminals that was literally their last stance, and they take their survival skills to there. And again, the whole point of military is to break you down and to build you up. So the military drill sergeants would be pitting people against each other. They want to see how it goes. So, hey, being a white Russian fat kid, guess what? Easy target. But we grew really close at the end, and the 3 months, 4 months that we were in basic, it changes people. And afterwards, you would put your life in front of anybody. So it didn't matter at that point anymore. So that was definitely a growing experience and something that I try to teach, my kids going forward, that you have to be grateful. You have to be grateful for the negatives as well as the positive, because at the end of the day, the negatives and the mistakes is what you really learn from. The positive is the reward. The negative is the journey.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yep. You have to go through a challenge to grow, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, life is full of challenges and you need to meet them. And the best way to meet them is by growing and accepting them. I mean, I've been lucky to have the life that I do, and there are people that are not on the same boat or anywhere near. So we have to be grateful for what we have. And the more we realize it, the easier life is going to become.
So how do you instill that in the kids that you teach?
One of the things that has stuck from the military is the values, the core values of the military. I try to put it into my philosophy of teaching. You need to be loyal. You need to be respectful. You need to be aware of what's going on, and you need to lead by example. And if you don't lead by example, and if you don't have these qualities, then at the end of the day, what are you really teaching? So do as I say, not as I do is not really a great motto here. But ironically enough, I don't know if you remember how well I was in school, but school was never my strong suit. And I guess I'm paying for it still. So, yeah. Yeah, but I figured one of the things that I would take away from my life experiences is what I did not like as being a student who was easily distracted and didn't really like focusing on education and how to make it better. And of course, the values that I got from the military, the loyalty, the respect, those things, leadership, those are the things that I try to instill. Not easy, but one of the things that I realized, you can't change everybody. There's going to be, if you make a difference to the 1% or the 2% of the people, then you are making a difference in the world. I try to consider myself a light worker. Whether or not is the case, it's not, but you need to leave some kind of a mark on the world at the end of the day. So if and I'm constantly getting like emails or messages from former students, be like, "Hey, Mr. Rest, how are you?" And that is when you know that you made a difference. So yeah, it definitely is a great feeling.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I'm starting to get a little bit of that feedback now about the podcast, and it's pretty incredible because if you can, like you said, if we can even change one mind, then it all would have been worth it.
Exactly.
I can definitely relate to that. So let's see. So besides education, you have a quite busy family life as well.
Yep. I have a 7-year-old at home, and we have another little one on the way. Actually, September 4th is going to be the due date. So
that's my birthday.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty funny, right?
Did you plan that?
No, well, I figured Yuri is going to get back into my life. We need to make it. So I was going to bring that up to you. I'm like, hey, listen, September 4th, by the way.
Yeah.
It's really funny how it works out, but you see so many synchronicities as you go through life. And I'm like, the more it goes, it's like, wow. So the more open you are to it, the more you realize how many of them there are. But yeah, we're definitely getting an addition. So it's going to be hectic, especially with all the stuff that's going on. Me being a teacher, it's kind of worrisome because I am going to be around a lot of kids, and you never know. It takes only one. So, but you have to pray, you have to hope, and you got to do what you got to do. You can't be a little puppy with your tail stuck between your legs and cowering in the corner. Listen, it's life. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be, regardless of what you're going to do. So, can't stop living.
Right, can just prepare, but it just goes back to what we were talking about just now with the challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Just another challenge. It's just
another challenge.
Happens to be on a global scale. But
yeah, well, listen, I think what we're experiencing right now is a tremendous thing, and I think it's literally good versus
fun. They come in for me.
No, they are. I thought I did something. That's usually what I think. I didn't do it. Yeah. But I think it is literally a good versus evil on a global scale, and we need to wake up. And a lot of people are not, but it's also one of those things where if you do change one mind, and if you do realize that some of the stuff that's going on behind the scenes, then you know what? It's great.
Right. And how, as an educator, how are you coping and adjusting? Because the last few months must have not been super great, put it that way.
One of my life mottos was worry about what you can control and don't worry about what you can't. And for me personally, I didn't really feel a difference in the negative aspect of it. I took the positive out of it. One of the most amazing positives is the fact that I can spend more time at home. I was able to spend more time with my kid, with my wife. I was able to go on daily walks with them, so it was a lot more positives for me as a person, as a family man, versus the negatives. The negatives are, of course, there. I lost a lot of money like everybody else, that, the financial struggle, the wondering what if. But at the same time, we never stopped living. And we just hope that it's going to bypass us and it's not going to be affecting us. And luckily, it hasn't touched us personally. I had obviously a few friends that lost their loved ones, but in terms of my life personally, we've been blessed. We've really been blessed. So, in terms of professional, it was tough to adjust in the beginning, as anything is, but again, it's just a little challenge. So I wound up doing what I could do best to support the kids that I had. I was on a lot more working than I would if I was in the building. I had a lot more planning to do, but I embraced it. And by the end of it, I actually spent much less time working than I did when I was in school. So if you embrace it and you take the challenge and you see what's positive out of it, you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, but again, for me, I was very lucky the fact that I am teaching physical education, not a core subject. And the kids were looking forward to coming to my class. Did I do live stuff? Absolutely not. There's no way. What am I going to do? Okay, guys, this is the basketball. Let's shoot it or let's dribble it. It's not going to happen. So I had to reinvent myself as a teacher, as an educator. I went on YouTube. I found videos. I asked the kids to vote for what they would like. And one of the biggest struggles was making 500 phone calls a couple of times a month, because you have to reach everybody, and you have a lot of kids that don't want to show up, and you also don't want to judge what happens with the, maybe something happened with their family, which I had a few kids happen to, or was it something that they just were damn lazy to go on and do the work. So majority of the cases were that, but there were cases where kids lost loved ones, and we had to adjust, and I had to be there for them.
And physical education, and in general, just being physical and exercising is probably more important now than ever. So are you finding that it's actually your job is actually easier now to motivate the kids?
It's not. It's definitely not. One of the things as a phys ed teacher, I don't know, you remember Mr. Zwern, he was old school, so we had the warm up and everything. I'm pretty much the same way. What the kids come to junior high school is that they either were sitting down and writing stuff for gym, or they were thrown some equipment and they didn't have the base knowledge. So I teach 6th and 7th grade this year. Usually I taught 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, but this year they moved me to 6th and 7th grade. And the difference between 6th grade and 8th grade is heaven and earth. Like, these kids are almost adult-like by the time they reach 8th grade, and 6th grade, some of them haven't even had puberty. So being able to teach them how their body works and moves is so complicated, because they didn't know the basics of running. They didn't know the basics of catching. So my life was actually much harder teaching 6th grade than it was having 8th grade students, where I can throw the basketball. Okay, guys, split into teams. All right, let me know what the results are. I'm putting the stuff in. Here, I had to force myself to readjust and to teach them different ways. And so going back to what the kids were experiencing in middle school and junior high school compared to elementary school is completely different. And unfortunately, I don't know what the the elementary school teachers were doing with them, but they didn't know the basic rudimentary movements, and they didn't know how to behave in a gym class setting. They went wild. So that was one of the things that I had to work. For me, discipline is number one.
So you're just leaning back on that military training?
Absolutely. Yeah, so like I said, everything happens for a reason. Have I not had that, I don't know how well organized I would be in the phys ed class.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's also the coaching aspect of it. I've been a volleyball coach for going into my 15th year now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is my year 15, so next year will be 16 years. Wow, I'm old.
Yeah, right. What does that make me?
Well, we're the same age, almost.
I'm 4 months older.
Yeah,
younger. Right. Anyway, who cares?
No, you're
4 months between friends.
Yeah, you're gonna be 34. Yeah, so you're still 34. So I am older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure, I'll let you have this one.
Yeah, I got something.
Yeah, and so I guess, how do you balance it all? Family life, school, coaching, right? Also trying to start your own thing a little bit, which we can get into.
Oh man, honestly, I'm looking back at it and I have no idea. It's one of those things that I was never the one to sit down on one spot. I needed to have to do multiple things. And plus, living in New York City, you kind of have to do multiple things if you want to survive and you want to have a family and, actually be able to enjoy life, because New York City doesn't make it possible to do otherwise. And unfortunately, I'm a spendthrift. And I like lavish things, and I want to be able to enjoy myself. So I realized there's a saying in Russian: if you want to sleigh, you got to carry the sleigh. So for me, it was, if I want to provide a certain lifestyle, I need to be able to hustle and make it happen. And I have a very supporting wife who is able to, let me have those things, because obviously it's hard to do it on your own. I'm gone from 7 o'clock in the morning to sometimes 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. The only things I really have is the vacation to look forward to and spend the time. And you come home, you're tired, you're hungry, you're angry, and you're exhausted, and then it's like, oh, can you please do this? And it's like, oh, I just done everything. So yeah, but the balance, if you find the balance and if you find the love in what you do, you find the energy. You're given the energy to carry on. And I'm always looking back, I'm like, am I tired? Yeah, I'm tired. Last year, I probably did one of the stupidest things I possibly can, but because I wanted to take another vacation, we worked the summer. So this year I said, I'm not doing it, regardless of what happens, what kind of financial situation. I want to do it. And then obviously COVID kind of helped me out in that regard. There was no summer work. Yeah, but balancing is tough. But if you have the right tools and you have the support from your loved ones, it's possible. It's definitely possible. I think the lowest amount of jobs I held at one point through the last 7 years was 3.
Oh.
Usually between 4 and 5. Yeah. Hey,
So that's what you did right before COVID?
huh?
That's what you did right before COVID?
That was what I was doing right before COVID. I had 5 jobs, and I was working 6 days a week, and every other week it was 7 days a week. So because we have the volleyball season, so it happened right in the middle of it, and you get burnt out. You definitely get burnt out, but then you're looking at what you want to accomplish. Do I want to send my son to summer camp? Then guess what? I have to work. Do I want to take my wife to Europe? If I do, then guess what? I have to work. If she wants to have something, to go out, and I have to worry about paying the bill, guess what? I got to work. Yeah, so.
Well, I guess it helps having a saintful wife, because that's what she sounds like.
Oh, she is.
So.
A saint. Yeah, she was about to throw something at me.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I am definitely very lucky in terms of my family. She threw something at me. Yeah, in terms of my wife. It's funny because we actually met working together. So back in camp. And we've been together since we were teenagers, and we actually went to prom. And well, I didn't go to my prom. I went to her prom, and she didn't even go to her prom. She went to her old school prom. So, yeah. But we've been that long together. Our running joke is, I would have been out already. So.
Right. It's 20 years. That's what you mean?
Yeah, pretty much.
And then you're done. So how do you make it work every day? What's the trick?
That's a life thing, especially for those who have kids or planning on having kids. You need to put each other first. The kid is the product of your love, and a lot of the families that I see, they tend to lose that ground, and they take over the kids as their life. Yes, kid is your life, but if you don't take yourself seriously and you don't value your partner, then guess what? That love is going to go away. That care is going to go away, because that care is now going to be focused on the child instead, and the other person is going to feel neglected. We all have our inner children, and if we don't take care of those inner children, guess what? They're going to come out and they're going to let us know. It's like, hey, knock knock, little Greg, little Yuri, we're here. What about us? And that's where a lot of people, I believe, run into problems. Is that they forget to love each other. And the other aspect is that if you run out of energy to love yourself, that's where the problem becomes as well. And we have, like every other couple, we always have our issues. We deal with them behind closed doors. I'm not a huge proponent of the whole fake Facebook crap. Oh my God, I can't believe my love. And then 3 days later, divorce. Really? Like, it's a challenge. and you have to take it head on. And if you know both have the very similar values, and the main reasons why we have been able to make it work, and we'll continue to.
All right. I know, Greg. I just starting to lose you a little bit again, but we'll get you back. It was that throw, I think. So we'll come back. But the part that I caught is that just like everything else we've been talking about, it takes work.
I mean, if you want to keep life, it takes work. There's nothing that will come easy. There is no easy scheme in life. Everything that's you realize that the easier your life is going to become. I mean, have you ever heard of Bashar?
Heard of what?
Bashar.
Oh, and we're lost. Let's see. It's reconnecting. Stand by. We'll get you back. There you go.
There we go. Yeah.
What have I heard of?
Have you ever heard of Bashar?
Bashar? I don't think so.
Okay, we'll talk on that on a separate occasion. But there's specific things, there's specific tools that you have in life. You need to reach your optimal happiness. You need to have least expectations, and the least expectations you do, and the more you do it for the right reasons, everything in life is going to happen. So when you go towards a goal, when you go towards the journey itself, you will see that it's not the end goal. Oh, I want to have the BMW, right? For example, it's not the BMW that's going to make you happy, but it's the journey to get to that point that is going to make you happy. So if you look at it as like, I want to get married. Well, why do you want to get married? I want to have married because I love the person. Well, what kind of love is it? Is it fish love or is it real love? I don't know if you know about the fish love, but the fish love. Okay, I'll give you an example. Fish love. You like sushi?
Sure.
I love sushi, right? Yeah. But the question is, do you love sushi for the taste of the sushi, or do you like the fish genuinely? Because no, you don't. We kill the fish, we eat the fish. So life has to be treated as a genuine back and front. It's a two-way street. If you genuinely love what you do, that energy is going to come back to you. If you're doing it just because you have the love fish, you love the idea of the BMW for the intrinsic value of it, not the journey that is going to get you there, not the reward, then guess what? Chances are it's not going to happen. Or if it does happen, it's going to have negative connotations with it. It was a little detour, but that's just like the philosophy that I'm living.
No, it's good because you're basically saying that what I've basically come to realize myself, and that is that success is a journey, not a destination.
Bingo, exactly. And you know how they say the more on the different vibrations you become, the more you open. So like our communication happened once we probably got on the same vibration, whether it's or something, there was a reason for it basically. So I was like, wow. I've tried getting in touch with a lot of my old friends from junior high school, and it never worked. But I'm like, I have a feeling it's going to work with Yuri. So we clicked, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. And then you're like, hey, you want to do this? Absolutely. Why not?
Yeah, this is great. Yeah. And we'll just, we'll get Verizon or Spectrum or whoever to, get you a better connection.
I'm a teacher, it doesn't work that way. We have to pay half our salary for that.
Well, we'll see. Well, maybe we'll have to get you on a program.
You know what? I would love that. Well,
support the teachers.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised. It's actually this is a bit of a detour, but actually I'm just realizing something. Unless they just don't care about phys ed enough. But shouldn't they actually, if they're expecting you to teach remotely, shouldn't that be one of the things that they provide?
So one of the things that we need to realize in the world of education is that no child is created equal. Some kids have 4, 5, 6 kids in the same family. So to have them expected to be on is giving them the service compared to somebody else. And the same way for the teachers as well. For example, if somebody lives in a 1-bedroom apartment in the middle of the city, and now they have to show how to do jumping jacks, guess what's going to happen from below? So it's very, very tough, and not everybody is able to do it. If I had a do-over, on remote teaching. And I wasn't, I knew what I know now. I probably would have went to the park and I would have done a little more live feed. But on a daily basis, I would probably have maybe a quarter of the students come on time. And a lot of my time was spent creating the different videos, talking to them. I love doing live lessons. So what we did is we had a video and we had a discussion. So I would be, instead of what we're doing, I would be on the chat room. And you see how wonderful my internet connection is. So that was the thing. And when you have the whole house on at the same time streaming or doing a Zoom video and doing a business meeting, it becomes virtually impossible. So it's not people that want to. My wife actually, who's early childhood teacher, she was doing Zoom meetings every day for her business. And I found it unbelievable that she was wrong, but again, we needed the help from the parents to do that. So it was 15 minutes lesson that she did with them, with about 2.5 hours prep. I was that she was one of us wouldn't have been able to. So yeah, that's the sucky part about living in New York City. And then there's those who live in New Jersey and they have huge backyards and they're by themselves. They had whiteboards, they had music lessons. So, it was a makeshift thing that we wound up having to do. And not to mention, we had zero training. So we, kids didn't come in on the 17th. We came in on 17th, 18th, and 19th. Some of the staff members were sick. We were not allowed to talk about that. So there was the whole, Quran that said, oh, there's no talking about sick, there's no. So people didn't know. We was just speculation. So we were doing like, oh my God, am I going to get sick? Did you hear? Did you hear? Did you hear? So everybody was talking out of fear. And I wound up, just isolating myself from all that nonsense. But it was very, very hard for phys ed to create something in a matter of 2 days. Yeah. And of course, as you said, who cares about phys ed? It's not that important. You have math, science, English, and ELA that everybody needs to focus on. I think physical education is a vital subject in terms of character building. You might be the greatest person in math, but if you don't know how to act or how to be a human being, what value does it have? So that was one actually main reason why I wanted to be phys ed, is because I get to reach a much larger population of kids. So you do with the blog, we have an everyday blog we'll do. What is anger? What is bullying? What is this? And it's crazy that some of the kids are like, oh, you should do a blog. I'm like, yeah, okay. And they text me and they're like, and once they graduate, they're like, so have you started? I'm like, no. And then of course you come with your thing, so I'm like,
right.
Yeah.
Now's the time.
Yeah.
So, and the thing I was trying to get at is, I guess, and it could be just because there is no money because the city's out of money, but there are no resources for teachers to like upgrade the internet connection, just like some basic stuff.
So let's put it like this. Our school was built in the 1930s. The infrastructure of the school is so ancient compared to some things that was built in the 1970s. It's really, really tough. We don't have air conditioning in our school at all. So I don't know how I'm going to come back. I know what it's going to be like. I teach on the 4th floor. Up until October, the temperature is in the mid to upper 90s. So that's the other, like in the city, it might be more realistic, but let's say in Brownsville, where schools used to be old factories. It's and especially now with the funding or the lack of funding and all the tickets that people can't write to because the parking rules were not in effect, it's really hard for the city to come up with the money. And so they have, quite frankly, the biggest challenge that I see that education is going to be having is actually the lack of teachers. I don't know if you know the statistic, but that 75% of teachers that are young are burnt out within 5 years. And the shortage of teachers was already very, very big before the whole COVID thing. And now that they're thinking of having 3, 4 cohorts per school with remote learning, with blended learning, and in-person learning, you need teachers for every single class. And they're saying, we don't have money, so we're going to have budget cuts, we're going to have layoffs. And at the same time, we need 3 times as many teachers as we have now. So like, yeah, what's going to be the most important thing? And the other part of it is the students with disabilities, which is, I would say, 20 to 25% of the current population of the DOE. I actually taught special education for about 8 years prior to becoming phys ed, so I was on that side of the classroom. And these kids need serious help in terms of the one-on-one interaction and just the care. Some kids are coming from broken families. Some kids are let through the cracks where they are not able to read. They were able to get by because they have really good memory, but they're dyslexic. You have kids that are undiagnosed with ADHD, but they can't focus for more than 5 minutes. And a lot of these disabilities are comorbid, meaning you have more than one. So you might have ADHD, and you might have something called, bipolar disorder. One day you're happy, one day you're not. The teacher's not getting it, and they're saying, "Oh my God, just get your act together." But the point is, they can't. And these are the kids that really need the help, and you can't do that remote. You really can't. So, and that's where a lot of the money should be going. So I see why they wouldn't be putting, for phys ed, because there's so many other things that people need. Guidance counselors, absolutely need nurses. You need social workers. So get a couple more basketballs. I can probably buy them myself. But get a couple of guidance counselors. Can't do that.
Right. Yeah. So those are big challenges that we have to figure out how to overcome. And maybe beyond us a little bit. But I'm wondering, what role do you think? I'm just curious, and just as comfortable as you are talking about it, what role do charter schools play in all of this?
So charter schools, I ironically enough, I'm not a big fan of charter schools, but my son is in a charter school. And the reason for it is because the school that we have in our area is beyond horrible. He was stabbed with a pencil. He got pricked with a push pin. So I was on top of that. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting my kid out of there. So not all public schools are created equal. But the problem is not all charter schools are created equal. The thing with the charter school, they get to pick their kids. They get to have the best crop out there, the cream of the crop. So while you're going into it, what they have there, we're not able to do just simply because of we'll get sued. I know charter schools that are yelling at their kids and forcing them to stay in line and getting discipline out of them. And of course, they're going to produce numbers. You have teachers in public school getting cursed out left and right. And guess what happens to them? Nothing. When I was working in a high school, I was cursed out on a daily basis. People can't tolerate that. I had my army, so whatever. I was cursed at day in, day night. I was it's like, do push-ups, you go do run that. So for me, I was much more thick-skinned. But we had teachers breaking down every single day. It's like, I'm trying to do what's best for them, but they don't care. So guess what happens? The charter schools, and we had a charter school in that building. So we actually had 2 charter schools in that building. And the principals are like, why can't you guys get the kids to act the same way? I'm like, well, guess what? The kids that were in that charter school are now in our class because they kicked them out. And that's my opinion on the charter schools. They take money and they take the facilities away from public schools. Caballero actually now has a charter school in there. So I'm like, what can you possibly do with that so that they're taking space? Do you have positives? Of course you do, but it's not going to benefit the kids that are at in danger. It's not going to benefit the kids that have disabilities. So you will take the best of the kids, and then the ones you don't like, you can't just suspend them or have detention. You send them to public schools, and that's where the big a big discrepancy. And if you look at the 5-year mark afterwards, when they don't have to pick their kids anymore, they get everybody who they get, the scores fall, the schools close down, the results aren't anywhere as close as to where the 5 years prior.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like the biggest challenge is discipline. So
I mean,
wonder in a way, and it's hard for me, because I'm not a parent, although I am an uncle to 3 amazing nephews who drive me crazy sometimes. But is discipline the challenge? Like, have we become too soft on the kids?
I agree with that statement 150%. We are afraid of kids getting their feelings hurt. I've seen videos where kids are running and ruining the house, throwing TVs down, throwing stuff out the window because they don't like something. No, that starts at home, and unfortunately, a lot of it has to do with the parenting. And if you are not taught discipline at home, and you don't have a structure, structure is going to disorganization is going to lead to chaos. Kids need discipline, whether they like it or not. They do need discipline. Otherwise, have you ever read the book Lord of the Flies?
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah, you know them. So what's going to happen? You're going to have craziness. Kids are going to go wild. They're going to start doing stupid things. I don't know if you heard or not, but there was an unfortunate accident on Floyd Bennett Field a little while ago, and there was 16-year-old drivers that crashed the car. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that schools are closed and the COVID is driving people crazy. If you were busy doing something else, if you were a part of a basketball team or part of a swimming team, or like we were in the karate, you wouldn't have the time or the energy to do that. So unfortunately, lack of discipline, lack of organization on the community as a whole is what's causing all this nonsense to happen. Those who have their jobs right now, they're not likely to be out partying in the clubs and the bars and whatever not. They're too tired to do that. And I think that's where this concern is for all the things that are going on. Discipline is a very, very important thing. And if you don't have discipline, then you're going to wind up having bad shit happen.
And how do we get back to that? Because we just keep coming back to the same thing, that life is not easy. Like, it's full of challenges, and the only way to prepare for it is to learn how to deal with challenges. And the best time to learn is when you're a kid and the challenges are small.
I think the values of the family have changed tremendously. You and I growing up, what did we do? We went to the park at 6 o'clock in the morning so we can shoot hoops before the big kids come. What do the kids do now? They turn on the TV and watch cartoons all day. I asked my son, do you want to go to the beach today? His answer was no. If somebody told me when I was 7 years old, he's like, I might, I don't know. Yeah, but when somebody told me, oh, do you want to go to the beach? Oh my God, the beach with waves? Yes, of course. So our generation has the experience of the no technology and the ability to run wild and go and be hunters and gatherers, as you would say. I don't know about you, but while I was growing up, we were leaving at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning to go outside. We were shooting water guns at each other. We were running around. We were building forts. We were playing with our hands. We were doing something. We were experiencing it. And now kids don't have that. Oh my God. I went to the store at 4 years old, and my mom could trust me to bring food home shopping. At 10, I was doing full shopping. Here, no, you can't leave your child at home by yourself till they're 12 years old because they're not responsible. So we're teaching a generation upon generation of kids that they're not responsible adults. And guess what happens? When you're telling somebody you're not, well, that's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to be not. Oh, they can't do this. They're too young. Really? Well, that's exactly what's going to happen when they get older. They won't be able to do it because you're putting that information into their brain. I think we need to have a more of an approach of kids can. Some of them will be able to do it at different times, but they will be able to do it. You had chores you growing up, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. Now,
Oh, yeah.
oh, I don't want to bother my 15-year-old because she's going to say no. Well, the reason why he's saying no is because you never told him to do it in the first place. My kid is wonderful. I got lucky because he's very helpful, and because we're fostering that, we're growing it. If we're not going to say, "Oh, great job for doing this," but we scold them like, "Oh, you idiot! How can you not do this on your own?" They're not going to be likely to try. Here we go. Okay, you didn't do it the right time. Do it again. Everybody's afraid to fail, but everybody is afraid to try to fail. So if you don't try and you don't fail, you don't learn from your mistakes. You don't learn from your mistakes, you don't grow. And now you have stagnation. And I think this is what we're seeing on a large scale.
Mm. And do you think that part of that is unfortunately the challenge of the education system? Because we're taught, right, you have to take a test and you have to get it right.
I think it's a part of it, but I don't think it's a huge part of it. I think it has to be handed in with the parents. The teachers are expected to be miracle workers. We're expected to be nurses. We're expected to be babysitters. We're expected to be guidance counselors. At the end of the day, we have 42 minutes, minus kids getting in and getting out, to build a rapport with the kid, to explain to them what's going on, and at the same time to know what troubles they're having at home. We're not parents, but the society is asking us to be parents. And you know what happens when you spread too thin? And there's no recourse at home. There is no, oh, you're not doing this right. I have kids who in sixth grade that don't know how to tie their shoes. Is it my fault? Or is it the fact that the people at home need to be like, hey, listen, this is what you need to do. You need to teach them. The excuse is, I work, I have to do this, I come home. Like, guess what? Me too. Make time. It's your kid, not mine. I have to make time for my own child as well. Most parents are not teachers, but a majority of the teachers are parents. And that's what people are trying to completely forget, is that this doesn't end when we leave school. We have papers to grade. We have our kids to take care of and teach as well. So there's that part of it as well. And everybody's like, teacher this, teacher that. United States probably has one of the worst support for teachers as a whole. New Zealand, other countries like Korea, they have a completely different support system for teachers. You don't curse out a teacher and get away with it. Here, oh, just the teacher, who cares? They couldn't do, that's why they teach, right? That's the going on joke. I use it all the time myself. Oh, I couldn't do, so I became a teacher, and I couldn't teach, so I became a phys ed teacher. So and that's the funny part of it. But in reality, we are discouraging teachers and the professionals to becoming teachers. It's not lucrative. It's more lucrative to be in a game where you make 10 times more than a teacher would, right? And you get to have fun stories. It's more lucrative to become a basketball star. It's more lucrative. I mean, why are we in the world where a basketball star is going to make 10 million times more than a rocket scientist is going to create the rocket that's going to send us to the moon, or create the COVID vaccine that people are so wanting to do? Why? Who's going to be in the rush for it? There is no intrinsic motivation. There's no extrinsic motivation when you're looked down upon. So I think teachers as a whole need to be more revered. And I think parents need to be more involved. And we're going into into a restaurant, and you see everybody on their phones, including the parents. There's no communication. It's a disconnect. I'm guilty of it myself. I'm tired. I want to be on my phone. I'm like, you know what? Dinner time is when there is no phones. And my kid is like, Daddy, why are you on the phone? There is no phone at dinner time. I'm like, you're absolutely right. I'm putting that thing away. It's a cancer thing. It's addicting. It's not a positive thing. You look into the conglomerates of, Bill Gates. You think his child is going to be on the phone? No.
No, that's a famous story about Steve Jobs. He wouldn't let his kids play with the iPads.
Correct. So what are we doing? What are we raising? I try talking to that about my kids. They're like, oh my God, what are you talking about? The rest. I'm like, okay. So we actually did a little study. I taught phys ed and I also taught advisory. So we did a time management project where they had to record all the time that they did for a span of 2 weeks. I'm like, how much time did you study? How much time did you read? How much time did you spend on electronics? How much time did you sleep? And every single kid realized that they spent way more time on their phones than they did sleeping. They spent more and more time on their computer games than they did studying. Those who had parents at home enforcing rules wind up having a different graph. And you can see who those kids are. There's going to be a strong correlation between at home versus in school. And like I said, they're there for 6.5 hours, correct. But we don't see them for 6.5 hours. We see them maybe twice a week for 42 minutes. I can do a little bit. I can kind of, put the idea in their heads like, hey, you got to take care of it. SHSAT, you got into Brooklyn Tech, if I recall correctly. You studied for it, right? I'm asking my kids in my honor classes, like 601, 602, okay, how many of you want to go to to specialized high schools? Everybody's hand is up. I'm like, what do you need to do for it? Oh, I don't know. How many questions on the test? I don't know. What are the questions about? So these are the things that I'm trying to put in their minds. Like, if you want to achieve a goal, you have to work hard. And half the kids go, oh, that's too much work. I'm like, well, no, really. So.
Yeah. Well, we're inspiring some people. If
I hope so. I hope so.
Fuad, there you go. Fuad gave us some love, and Tony, my man Tony, as well. So it's pretty awesome. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you. It's really fair. I just finished reading a book that I think you might actually enjoy, because it goes to a lot of what you're talking about. That it goes down to environment. It's called "Willpower Doesn't Work" by Benjamin Hardy, and his whole thesis is that you can't just force yourself to overcome the negatives that are constantly pushing you down in your environment. You have to change the environment.
Right, of course. It goes back to the whole thing, nurture versus nature. Nature is going to take hold, but if you don't have the nurture, then guess what? It's not gonna materialize. It's like the gene that's recessive. If it doesn't have any way to appear, how's it going to appear? Based on what?
Mm-hmm. Based on what? Say that again.
No, I'm saying, like, it's a recessive gene. Like, if it's going to appear, it's going to have time to materialize. If it's not going to materialize based on anything, unless it's forced to do so, whether it's after repetition, you have more offspring, therefore it's going to materialize. It's the same way with what we want to do. What is the word that I'm looking for? It'll come back to me. Yeah.
All right.
Having a brain fart a little bit. Too much talking on my part.
No, it's great. I mean, you can tell right away that you're a teacher and a great one. So.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So I guess because we're sort of been going for about an hour now, I wonder, let's get a little bit into sort of your private practice, so to speak. Some of the well, pick one, but the life coaching is the thing that fascinated me the most.
So I kind of couple the life coaching with the college advising, because I think they go hand in hand. A lot of the times, especially the old school parents, you have to go to NYU, you have to go to Columbia, you have to go to Ivy League, and I'm trying to explain to them you don't. I'm a huge proponent of education, but not necessarily a college degree. From the time you and I went to college, college degrees have been diluted tenfold. Everybody and their great-grandmother now has a degree. What does that do? It creates a group of people who think they know everything, but that doesn't actually provide any of real-life experience. Now, if you look at it like, oh, we require you to be master's graduate, college graduate, 5 years of experience, and 27 years old. How's that possible? How is that possible? Oh, and don't forget, you get to start with a great salary of $42,000 a year. Guess what that does? That gets rid of infrastructure, because there's no engineers anymore. It gets rid of electricians, because nobody wants to do that, because everybody's force feeding the whole, you need to go into education, you get to get a degree. Yes, you don't need to get a degree, you need to get education. It can be a certificate. You can become a plumber. What if you're really good with your hands, but you are forced to sit and read the book? There was a really good thing where if everybody was judged by how they can climb a tree. I'm old and fat, I can't climb a tree. A dog can't climb a tree. A cat can. A goldfish will never climb a tree. So how can you put everybody in the same boat? I want my kid to be a lawyer. Okay, great. Did you ask what your kid wants? No, I want my kid to be a lawyer. They'll be successful. They'll be happy. Wrong. How many? And you know how many lawyers I know that were burnt out after year 3 on their job, and now they have hundreds of thousands of loans for debt that they will never be able to pay back, or they'll go into bankruptcy to get rid of them, and they won't be able to have a normal life. So I'm always trying to explain that the most important thing for life, and that's where the life coaching and the college advising comes into play full circle, is you have to chase happiness. I love my job, wholeheartedly love my job, because if I didn't love my job, I would not last. All the negativity, all the crap that we have to deal with, kids cursing at us, throwing things at us. It's not a rewarding program at all. But because I enjoy, and you even seen that one child or one young adult make a difference in their lives, then it's worth it. So if you need to chase happiness. And I will talk to you more on a separate thing regarding Bashar and the whole values of life and the tools that you're given to succeed. You need to be able to get that together. And if you're chasing happiness and you're truly happy with what you do, I want to be a nurse. Why? They make great money. Wrong. That's not why you need to be a nurse. You need to be a nurse because you want to help people live. One of the greatest conundrums right now, I think, is the fact that a lot of the doctors are not following their oath. What is the oath of the doctor? Thou shalt not hurt. They're providing us with pills upon pills upon pills. What does that do? Right? What do the pills do? They get rid of the symptoms. They don't treat the root. So when I do the life coaching, I'm trying to find the root of the problem. I'm not a doctor. Let me say that right now on the spot. I'm no way a doctor or affiliated doctor, have a medical degree. But the point is, it's the whole philosophy of it. If you don't treat the root of the problem, you will never truly heal. So if you're going to treat symptoms, and I don't know, maybe some people will be able to relate to that. You have that empty feeling inside. You might be successful beyond your imagination. You have the car, you have the 2-car garage, you have the house, you have the 3.5 kids, everything that you want, the American dream. But you feel the emptiness. And that emptiness is because you're not going the right path. There is that hole, there is that burning desire to do more. Some people turn to drugs. Some people turn to gambling. Some people turn to alcohol. Some people turn to, adultery. There's all stemming from a specific thing. And the life coaching that I love to do, I'm trying to help people reinvent themselves and find themselves. If you're able to find me, I even did a thing a few years ago, 3 or 4, where I just typed a random thing. I'm like, hey, if you know you need to contact me, you will know this resonates with you. I had 3 people contact me. I didn't charge them at all. But each and every single one of these people knew that they needed to contact me because they realized that there was something wrong. Anybody else, they probably never even received it because it was a different wavelength. They didn't need it. So that's one of the things that I try to instill, is that you need to find what's making you happy. It doesn't have to be rich and expensive because everybody's chasing money right now. It might not be what's necessary at this point. But if you follow your dream and you have least expectations and you do it with the most happiness, then you will be given the tools that you need to survive. Very simple.
Yeah.
We tend to forget that, just go back and listen to Mowgli, the bare necessities, right? What do you need? You need a roof over your head. Yep, bare necessity. Yeah, you need a roof over your head. You need clothes on your back, and you need to feel safe. If you don't feel safe, you will not grow. Where does civilization comes from? The fact that people had surplus, the fact that people go. Now we're going back to the place where we need to fight to survive. $3,500 for a 1-bedroom apartment. How much money do you need to be making to do this? That's New York City for you, and that's being a cheat. Yeah, you have people that are like, oh, I want to be able to do this. Now, everybody at some point or another going to realize that this is not life. This is survival. And I want to be able to teach people this is what you need to do in order to have a life. And that's why college degree. I had actually quite a few people that were much older that came back, or they would either they post back or just completely switch their fields. They wanted to change. Why do you want to change? I'm not happy. Why are you not happy? I don't feel fulfilled. What do you want to do? I want to switch, but I'm not sure what I want to do. Now we can talk. What is it that you would like to do? What makes you happy? Oh, I always wanted to be. Ironically enough, sometimes I hear teacher. Why? I feel like I can make a difference. It really resonates with me. I'm like, well, I can definitely help you in that regard. You know what? I know the ins and outs how to become one. I know this is not going to be an easy path, but oh, I want to be a basketball player. It didn't work out for you. What now? Nothing. I put all my money on the bank because I wanted to be a professional basketball player. I blew out my knee. Do you still love basketball? Yeah, that's my passion. Become a coach. Become a exercise scientist. Become a therapist. So we try to come up with a variety of different ways of not putting all your eggs in one basket, because it's like the stock market. You put everything on one stock, it falls, you're done. And then people are going to be, scrambling. You need to have the same thing with life. Life has pathways. Not one pathway is right. Another thing that I noticed that people compare to everybody else. Oh my God, they're going on another trip. Don't worry about them. Be happy for them. Worry about what you can do and what you can control. So there's that. So, all right, I'll stop rambling.
No, that's great. There's a lot there, and I can definitely relate to a lot of it. And I wonder if just the fear and the negative energy is what stops us from really realizing and finding that mission in life. Because I find that if you start adding value to the world, the money will be there.
Of course. Well, that's one of the things that I'll send you the thing with the Bashar, because I think you'll resonate with it.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn more about that. The other thing, Greg, I wanted to touch on to go back is what you said about that we keep treating the symptoms, not the root cause.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if some of that is what we as a society want, because I had a doctor from Canada on the podcast a few episodes ago, Dr. Shaman out of Canada, and he basically invented lifestyle medicine, where that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to treat the root causes. He's trying to do a lot of the preventative stuff. And some of his patients, what he said is they'd rather take the pill, or they'd rather have the surgery where they just knock them out. And then when they wake up, they're fixed, even though they haven't actually changed their lifestyle. So in a few years, they're back.
Yeah, of course. So here, this is where going back with more of an energy and the chakras and all of that stuff. I don't know if you know, but when I was actually in junior high school, I read a book by Lazarev called Diagnostic of Karma. And that was one of the things that I started doing when I was very, very young, and I was always interested in the kind of stuff. And I realized that you're an energy field. And if you're constantly bombarded by negative energy, from whether it's from the TV, from the news, from everything, I got rid of news. I'm tired of listening to this negativity. Half of it is BS, and the other half is just to put fear into you. One of the things that people do is they need to be controlled with fear. If you are controlled with fear, then you have your status quo. And a lot of people are afraid of change. I'm looking at my family. We survived Sandy. I was homeless. I was literally homeless for about, I want to say 7 to 8 months. I lived on my in-laws' couch. My wife was 7.5 months pregnant when this thing happened. And everything that I ever planned for was ripped out of me. We had a down payment saved that went back to rebuilding. So I was starting from scratch. And obviously it was not from scratch because we wanted to be in a lot of debt. So I figured, like, oh crap, my mom is sitting there crying all day, every day. I'm like, you didn't really lose that much. Like, I lost everything. I had to borrow, pardon my French, my brother's underwear, literally, because I lost everything you can possibly imagine, including the letters from the army to my wife and, like, a lot of the sentimental things. And I actually created a video, a tribute to Seagate, because we had about 8 feet of water in my apartment. So it was... Yeah. So one of the things that I ended the video with was all things are things. They're not of value. They can be replaced. What you can't replace is life. And going back to the original point is if you're afraid of it, you gravitate to the easy way out, you're not going through the journey. You're not learning anything. What was the learning essential for me at that time? Oh my God, I was materialistic as hell at that point. I kind of got rid of all the things that spirituality. I was more concentrated on having the things. So we lost both our cars, lost all of my savings, but I got to keep my wife and my kid, and we actually swam out. So I can write a book on that. Yeah, so we were swimming out when the wave came, and I had to like hold my wife and the unborn child like this so they wouldn't get swept away. And we made it through, etc. Happy ending. But I'm reading stories after stories where they were not so lucky. People were swept away. People hit their heads. They passed out. They drowned. The other day, I was reading a story about the mother who lost both her children when the wave came to the island. So, just reminiscent of like, there's a don't worry about it. If you need it, you get it. And going back to the original part of the root of the problem, if you're not caring about the root of the problem, if you're only satisfied with the end result, then you're not going to learn anything from it. And what your doctor was saying, a lot of the people are afraid of change. And even looking at my family, they're afraid of making that step. Oh, what if? Have faith. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen regardless. If we can walk outside today and we are going to get hit by lightning or get hit by a truck or, anything can happen. And why worry about it if, one of the greatest posts my dad actually gave me, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to live by. When you're no longer here, have you made a difference? Is your philosophy going to continue going on? Is somebody going to worry about you? Nobody's going to come to your funeral and nobody's going to care because, whatever, they will die eventually. We're here for a limited time. What mark have you left on the world to make the difference? And that's where one of the life coaching and the advising comes into full circle with the treating of the root of the problem. If you are not happy with what you do, you are not going to leave a positive mark. And with the negativity that the world has, and all the negative energy that the world is providing with the news and the fear, we're feeding into that, or we're feeding into the light. So you have to take your pick, and you have to make the choice.
So, if someone wanted to work with you, how can we learn more about life coaching and education?
I can give out my email. Agrest. It's very simple. I'm old school. Agrest G.
I can just put it on screen here. Agrest G at
gmail.com.
Look at that. How easy is that?
Yeah, I know. Make it simple. We have enough complications in life.
Boom, boom, like that. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
There you go. So you guys can reach out and connect, and if anything you've heard today resonated, then you found your coach.
Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate it.
I know we've sort of gone way over, so I don't want to keep you from your family for much longer.
Yeah, but like I said, I enjoy this very much. I really hope you will invite me again on this podcast because we do have a lot of things that we can discuss and break it down. This was like a whole general type of thing, like here and there. But if you want to focus on something more, and I can be available, especially now that I'm still not working. Like I'm more available than ever. So it's like, hey, I'm here.
Right. So if the DOE is not going to help us, we'll just have to start a collection and just get you better internet, and then we can do it.
Actually, ironically, ironically enough, like I don't intend to do DOE for the rest of my life. I do want to open up my own school. I actually have a name for it, and I want to use the philosophy that I have. But unfortunately, what I'm lacking is about $55 to $60 million. You have any of that?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, of course.
Well, not yet, but give me 6 months to a year.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, but I have quite a few, like-minded people, and we do want to create a different type of school. Again, one of the reasons I became a phys ed teacher was not because of it's easy. I love the philosophy behind it. I mean, it originated from the word gymnasium, which is ancient Greek, and these are the founding fathers of the philosophy. We're talking about now phys ed teachers. Oh, here's a basketball. That's not what I want. I want mind, body, and spirit. This is the three components that need to work together. And if you have all three of them working in unison, then you know what? You're able to achieve anything you want to do. And that's where the philosophy is coming from. It's not coming from the gymnasium of ancient Greece.
That's amazing. You just made a connection that I didn't realize because the word isn't. But
Yeah.
I went to a gymnasium.
You went to a gymnasium, right?
In Belarus.
Yeah. So there was a reason why the Russian education back then, not anymore. So they were not anymore. I think they're falling off just like we are and everywhere else. But the gymnasiums had all the aspects of the Greek philosophy. You had your body. You needed to take gymnastics. You needed to know nutrition. You needed to know how to take care of yourself. You had your mind, sharp, logic, right? Logos, pathos, and ethos. The three ways to write. So all of these things all comes in threes. There's a reason for that. And these are the knowledge things that I would love to pass on. And these are the things, the philosophies that I use in my coaching, whether it's education or whether it's life coaching or college advising. All of these things need the troitsa, as you say it in Russian. The reason why there's three. So
that's amazing. So the modern gymnasium.
We need to bring it back, man. Yeah.
All right. Well,
yeah,
we'll make it happen. Well, let's see if your connection holds out. Any final words? Otherwise, we'll just end it there.
And blessed be you guys. I was give some information, and if you reach out, you really think you are doing bringing people to get information.
Yeah, so people can email you, and of course I appreciate you because it looks like the internet gods were just kind enough to us, but not quite.
That means we have
kind enough to get that final message. So that's why we'll have to have you back, or we'll do it in person once it all settles down.
And of those.
All right, and if you just hang out for just one more moment, I will see you backstage. And with that, I just want to say thank you very much for tuning in to this very first The Awkward Mind Podcast live. I hope you've enjoyed it, or maybe if you're watching the replay, you can always catch up on the other episodes on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts, and let us know what you think, and give us your feedback. And that's it. Thank you very much. That is all for now. Goodbye.